Hello and welcome to The Ripples, a podcast where we explore small moments, great ideas, and silent actions that create change in the lives of people, communities, and generation at large. I am Blessing Morris, and today we are joined with a storyteller who has dedicated her life to telling stories of people affected in conflict zones. And she is not just a storyteller, but gives a voice to those who go unheard. And today we have her in EU, and she would be sharing with us why she is here and the things she has noticed in Yola. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Blessings.
Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Thank you. And by my right, we have a student, Miha, who is majoring in communications and multimedia design. He would be introducing himself properly.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Mihai Andre Zaharia. I am a CMD student in my final year, and I'm truly honored to be here. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so very much. Yes, so Miss Rosie, we've going through your life experience. Can you give us just a little briefing on how your journey began as a journalist?
Sure, yeah. So I was in my final year of international relations and development studies at the University of Sussex in the south of England, enjoying student life, not entirely sure what I wanted to do next. Was on my way home from campus, hopped off the train, walked down Queen's Road, where BBC Sussex is situated, and noticed a sign on the door advertising for trainees. Made a note of it, went home, didn't think too much about it until then speaking to my father, who was quite frustrated with the fact that I had spent many years in education but didn't really know what I wanted to do, and was pretty insistent that I apply for it and got the traineeship. But I will say at the end of it, my father was then a little concerned when I told him about the sort of salaries that journalists can earn.
It's not just about the risks, but then it's cash. Very important.
Yes.
Okay, and we know that it's not easy for journalists. There are parents who are very concerned that why should my child go into this kind of job? Because it's very risky. You know that your life is not safe. And then some of the terrorists we have, especially in this part of Africa, where do they get their donations? So what's your own driving force, despite knowing all these risks? Still going ahead to do this?
Sure. I mean, it's simple, Blessings. I'm just super interested in people and their stories. On this traineeship that I said I did at BBC Sussex, our trainer, Melita Dennett, she sat us down, around 6 of us, and one of the first days of training, she said something you need to remember in journalism, whether you're on the train, a bus, or whatever, then among strangers, don't discount everyone, because everyone has a story to tell. But you as a journalist, it's about how you relate to a person in a way that will encourage them to tell you their stories. And so I really like that. So very curious about people, and have before now been nicknamed Nosy Rosie.
Nosy Rosie. Okay. Today you are hosted in the EUN community, and then I know in one of your panel discussions you spoke about women in security. Why are you in EUN? What brought you all the way to the American University of Nigeria? And then
So the main character of the documentary that I'm most proud of to date, Queen Hunter, or the title for Al Jazeera was Aisha Boko Haram Hunters. The main character, Aisha Bakari Gombe, she is based here in Yola. So I've been here a number of times, also to the American University of Nigeria. I stayed at the hotel often when I was filming Aisha. So then when the version for Al Jazeera came out, which was 25 minutes, I went on to make a longer one, but did nothing with it for several years until last autumn. So that's October, November of 2024, was coming up with some professional goals for 2025, and thought I need to do something with this longer version, because it is really touching. Watched it again and thought, well, that's really, pretty good. I should do something with it. So I approached a distributor. They said that they would distribute it in France, some French channels, and a YouTube channel as well. But then I thought, well, okay, it's going to see the light of day. But before it sees the light of day, and there's broadcasts and these different channels, I ought to take the time to show it to Aisha. And what better way to do that than to come here to the American University of Nigeria that is in Yola, of course, but Aisha's from Yola. So that is why I'm here today, after having reached out to your president, Dwayne Frazier, who was very reactive in a positive way about me coming here and holding the premiere here. We then devised the idea of holding a panel discussion and then giving a workshop. So that's the genesis of me being here today.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks to our very welcoming president who has given, because EUN is actually home for almost everybody, not terrorists. Yes, and then I'm very glad. A lot of people do New Year resolutions and then forget about it, but then you did a resolution and said, okay, people need to hear about the story, and you took it up. We really appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
Another thing I would want you to probably speak on is we have a lot of students who their parents are really skeptical or scared. Why should my child go into this kind of jobs? And then probably that child has the passion, or this is what you want to do, but then your parents are very much concerned for your life, and it's of course out of love. So what can you say?
Some advice,
Having,
yes.
The experience of being
yeah, for sure. I mean, I sort of had the opposite experience in the sense that my parents were just keen for me to get, earn some money for a change. But then also, I did not tell my parents in great detail. My father was late by then, but I certainly didn't tell my mother in great detail the risks I went to get Aisha's story. But what I will say about the process of filming Aisha's story, I did that as an independent filmmaker because I knew at that stage in my career, having worked for a few broadcasters or collaborated with them, that none would take that story from me because of the risks that I obviously entailed to capture the story. So I decided to make it as an independent filmmaker. And the reason that broadcasters are just not willing to commission something that's so risky before you filmed it is because they have really strict security protocols about where, even as a freelancer, where they will send you, and if it's a conflict zone, they will absolutely not send you. And even some broadcasters will go to the extent that, okay, you'll come to them and say, well, I filmed it, it's ready, you can just take it. And they say, no, our rules dictate that we're just not allowed. You will have to have gone through a hostile environment training. We will have to actually employed you for an amount of time and this kind of thing. So what I would say to parents that may be concerned about their children going and filming in difficult parts of the world, then if they're working for a reputable broadcaster, then no reputable broadcaster will send you to those sorts of dangerous places. So there's that. But there's also in journalism, it's not just about war reporting, of course, right? You can be in the studio, you can be a sound technician. There's many aspects of journalism that do not entail risk. You can be a desk journalist. I was a desk journalist for a good number of years. I was a news editor in Paris, living a lovely life of safety. So it's not just because you're a journalist doesn't mean that you need to put yourself on the front line. That's a personal choice, and what I would say to people is just build yourself up to that. If you've got a calling for that kind of journalism, then just build yourself up, take the necessary training courses, get the required experience. Don't go it alone. So filmmaking, documentary filmmaking, but also journalism, private media outlets, whether it's channel TV here in Nigeria, Premium Times, these are businesses, right? Where people are being run as businesses.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
I do have a question from another student that unfortunately couldn't join the events today, but she was asking, was there any turning point in your career that helped your documentaries or films evolve?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. Well, we can't see him here, but there's a gentleman in the corner called Moise Gomez, who is the correspondent for France 24 television here in Nigeria, and I was still a radio journalist actually in Paris in 2015, and got on quite itchy feet. Some really bad things happened in Paris that year in terms of terror attacks, and I just thought, you know what, I need a change. So to answer your question, actually, I thought, well, what can I do to make a change? I thought, well, I am entitled, because I'm working for the national broadcaster over there, sorry, I am entitled to a sabbatical. So I thought, well, let me just take a sabbatical. So I asked my boss, who himself had taken a sabbatical to work for the UN for a couple of years. He was like, absolutely, yes, do it.
Sure.
And then I was like, well, okay, I've got this opportunity to go on sabbatical for a year or even 2 years if I want. What do I do? Well, I really want to learn how to film, because that turning point for me, the catalyst was, I saw in 2015 that people were consuming information and news, entertainment through a visual medium. People read less. People certainly listen to the radio a lot less, although podcasting has changed that. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to survive in my career for another 25 years, I'm going to need to make a change. And so then I decided, okay, I want to learn how to film, and I managed to eke out this opportunity to take a sabbatical. But then I contacted Moise, who was and still is the correspondent for France 24, our sister TV station, and said to him, look, Moise, I want to come back to Nigeria, or come live in Nigeria and be a correspondent. And he was like, sure, come. And we collaborated for a couple of years. Then by the second year of my sabbatical, I knew that, okay, after making some TV reports and being, pretty good at it, I thought, well, I want something to show for this 2-year sabbatical, because it's quite unusual to get so much time off. And I thought, well, I really want to make a documentary, something that I'm proud of. And then luck would have it, I just came across Aisha's story through a Google alert I'd set up, a news alert that I'd set up. I read it and thought, this can't be true. And but I happened to be in Adamawa with Moise at the Sukur Kingdom, and we'd seen these hunters, and through one way or another I got put in touch with Aisha and went to go and meet her, and that was the true catalyst of me going from being a journalist to a documentary filmmaker, was finding Aisha, building this deep trust that we have with one another, and spending the most part of 2015 with her, making this documentary of 25 minutes for Al Jazeera, which is obviously one of the best channels in the world. And that then gave me the credence I need, the credibility that I needed to say to myself more than the world that actually, no, I can make a documentary pretty much about anything under any circumstances. And so then it just grew from there.
And it's
and still doing it, still collaborating with Al Jazeera and others. So that's great.
That's awesome. I don't know, we have no more questions, right? Okay. Wrapping this up, we know that AUN is dedicated to shaping global leaders that do not just identify a problem, but then they provide solutions.
Lovely.
So, and then you also made mention that during your sabbatical period, you decided, what am I going to do? What should I do that should bring a change? So what advice would you give to other universities in preparing their students to not
that's
just
very
be
good. Yes.
people that identify a problem, but then being that change maker?
That's a good question. Blessings. Yeah, for sure. I think I've been lucky enough to grow up in a family where money isn't everything. It's also about the legacy you leave behind, what positive impact you've had on people's lives during your lifetime. And so I feel that personally, being motivated by money is unhelpful. Of course, you need enough money to survive, and I have more than enough money to survive. But to answer your question then, Blessings, I feel like whatever I do, what positive impact is it having? And in the case of, for example, of Aisha, then of course it got her known, not just in northern Nigeria, but in other parts of the world. Other journalists came, so it impacted positively on her life. It impacted positively on, I feel, the hunters who were completely unrecognised by the military at the time during the time we spent together. I had to go undercover because the military didn't even want to admit that the hunters were involved in the counterinsurgency. But by the time the film came out on Al Jazeera, then until now, there's been a slow but sure movement, can I call it, or at least push for the hunters to have recognition, and for that recognition to be official recognition, and that's going on right now in the National Assembly, whereby it looks like they'll be recognised as the Nigerian Forest Security Service. So that makes me feel really good. And then the cherry on the cake for me is what I heard yesterday, blessings, is that when I was filming Aisha in 2017, that she was pretty much the only one that went into combat of the hunters. Now there are 200 women in hunters around Nigeria.
Wow.
So that's really, really great. And I think it's not just because they've seen my documentary, of course they will have seen things on social media about Aisha and so on and so forth. But the point is bringing her story to the fore is really, I hope, has inspired at least 200 women who presumably had to have some quite difficult conversations with male members of their family, female members of their family, but still they feel she can do it, I can do it. So that's for me is what I would say to universities is try to instill in your students the importance of whatever it is they choose to do. Is it having a positive impact on the people that they're doing it with? What are you doing? Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it to have a positive impact? If not, then perhaps think again. Yeah.
Wow. If not, perhaps think again.
Definitely.
Yeah, and just like you said, it can start with you. And whatever you have in mind to do, just know that a lot of people are looking up to you. So why not just do it, and then so that you pave the way for others.
Yes,
exactly.
and bring others along with you.
Yeah.
It's not our profession. It's just a really final note. Journalism, particularly, but also the film industry, documentary can be very competitive. But it's not. It's a collaboration, and that's why I'm so happy to be here today and to have held that workshop and put my contact details on the board, because I really do hope in the coming weeks, months, years that I will hear from some of you and can impart some advice, share contacts, that kind of thing. It's a collaboration to bring other people up and along with you.
Thank you so very much, Miss
you.
Rosie. I believe you've impacted lives and you've encouraged other students,
Thank
of course,
you.
on what to do. Thank you so very much,
Thank
Mina,
you.
for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and with that, I, Blessing Morris, is saying thank you so very much for staying with us. And to the Marketing and Communications Department, thank you for making it possible for us to bring this to the viewers' view. And with that, I, Blessing Morris, is saying bye for now.